So the snow is pretty much gone by now. There's a little bit there on the hill you can see. That's about it. Hopefully that's going to be the end of it. We start to get a bit of spring weather and I can move on with making some big steps forward on the boat renovation. Hello everyone. The snow was past at last, thankfully. So getting out here on the boat. The evening's getting a wee bit longer too. So it's 6 o'clock in the evening. It's still bright out here. The road is still noisy, but not much you can do about that. So I'm out here this evening trying to get something done with the Companionway hatch. I'm just doing a mock-up in pine to give me the basis for making one in the Iroko timber that I have for it. So do all the cutting out, make all the mistakes using the pine. That way I can just hopefully cut out the Iroko in one go and have a good fit with it. This is like a slider here that's already part of the boat. Some kind of, I don't know what it really is. I don't think it's carbon fibre, but some kind of sort of lubricated sort of runner strip. I don't know what it is, but it's the runner that the Companionway runs on top of. So just messed around and cutting out these cutouts here to try and get some kind of a template to use to mark the timber that I'm actually going to use. And this is basically the idea. You can see one there in front of where the cabin Companionway is, and one to the rear here, and they'd be sort of attached on like that at the side, which would give me clearance underneath the cabin top like that, and stop water from penetrating up in underneath that lip. That's the theory anyway. And then it'll run on that backwards and forwards. So this is close but not exactly perfect. You can see it's a wee bit higher on this side, and it's a wee bit it's a bit too open on the inside edge here. So the outside edge, I like that edge. Maybe straighten it up a little bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mark off this onto another piece of timber and try and get a better, tighter, cleaner fit on this with the right angle on it, and then use that to mark on the Iroko timber that I'm going to use to actually make it. Right, so by using this first template that I cut as a guide and adjusting off fit, I've cut out this second template, which is this one here, which is a wee bit tighter, more accurate, which is what I'm going for. Now I made this on a longer piece of 2x1, so what I'm going to do is cut this off here, and then I can use it as a template to mark on this end, and flip it over and mark on the other end, and hopefully then I'll end up with an accurate template that'll do both sides and give me the span as well. Okay, so this is this side marked this way, and then to get the other one I'm going to have to flip it over and mark it that way, and that will give me the other side. And it's a good job I tried this up before I cut anything, because I made a mistake. Yeah, I put the template on this edge rather than on the other edge, so this inside line should actually be at that point there on each side, because there's the two lines I marked, one there and one there. So I'll put this on the wrong side of that line, so I'll have to rectify that. This is the finished sort of cut out template. You can see it there. I've cut the angles over the slides. They're actually both different, believe it or not. This one here is the original one I cut, and then I had to adapt this one in place to get it to fit a slightly different angle. But they're in place anyway. I had to cut them slightly wider on the inside too, because the Companionway actually narrows as it goes down. So as I push it away down to the back, you can see it's actually tight now on the inside on both sides. So there's that much difference in the shape of the Companionway from front to back. But that'll slide right to the front and to the back. So I have to duplicate that on another piece, give me the front edge, and I have the rear edge on that one, and then the side pieces then will just be purpose of this mock-up, just made out of this 3-inch wide timber or 4-inch wide timber, whatever it is, and that will go on the outside like that to give me the edge of the companionway. Now I think I'll probably go on a little bit tighter than that, maybe in as far as that edge there, just to make it as neat as possible. So it'll end up somewhere in like that, so it comes to the outside edge of the trim around the hatch there where the washboards go in. The template that I made yesterday is this one here, and the two different sides are slightly different. This is the port side, starboard side here. So I'm going to have to make two of these, one for the rear end of the companionway hatch and one for the front edge. Now the front edge, the cabin top actually is curved. There's sort of like a raised sort of profile to it. So on the front leading edge one, I'm actually going to have to take out some kind of a curve at the bottom here to clear that so it runs smoothly over it. But I've decided, thinking about it, not to go with the whole idea of the doing one up in pine first and trying it and all this kind of stuff, because I feel like I'm pontificating a wee bit by doing that and just putting off the inevitable, getting on, moving on, getting it done. So I'm just going to jump in and cut out the front and rear piece for the permanent one out of the Iroko, marking off of this template here. Now hopefully that's a good idea and I don't mess this up completely, but I think it'll move it on a little bit quicker. In addition to that, I have this, I've talked about this HDPE plastic before that I'm going to use for making the pads for the mount, the rudder supports, and also one for underneath the mast as well, because the mast is deck stepped and there's currently a piece of teak underneath it. To take that off and replace it with a piece of this stuff here, which is impervious to water, so it's not going to rot away and all that. So maybe I'll get to cutting that out as well. I'm going to follow the same idea as I did for the handrails. I'm going to cut out two at the same time. It saved me time doing it that way, and it makes sense. So the place I'm going to put the screws in, I think, is in the section where I'm going to cut them out, because then it's waste. I'm not putting them anywhere else. So that's the two of them fixed together. Now I put a mark on this here showing 40mm, which is what I want the overhang to be past where the runner is, because it seemed to give me clearance on the profile of the companionway sort of moulding to clear on this side and just come out, so then when the side piece goes on it'll all work together. That's what I'm going to go with. I can also obviously trim that down a wee bit, but then you run into the problem of if I'm too close to this opening here, maybe splitting timber and stuff like that. So I think this might be a good piece to leave on to give me something to fix into, glue and screw it together, and without breaking into this part here. I'll obviously have to pilot drill them so I don't split the timber and to get a good fix in, but that's just a thought process. And this template piece obviously is not as deep as the proper piece is going to be, but that wasn't really an issue for the template. All I needed was to get this bottom edge and these cutouts. Then there'll be a bit more timber on the actual real one, make it that little bit higher, and giving me the opportunity to cut out for this curved piece in the front of the cabin without, you know, weakening the piece too much. So okay, mark this out. Okay, so that's that way. Flip that way. Think of this, yeah, that way. Flip that way. And then that goes that way. Yeah, that's it. Okay. This corner right first, and all should work from there. obviously I'm going to cut on one side. This is just to give me a bit of a backup on this side so that I can see that I'm not making a complete mess of it. You can't work off both sides, but this, you know, gives me an indication that everything's going according to plan. I'll do the actual cutting out looking from this side here. Now I have to add on my 40mm past this point here, so using my tape measuring from the 100mm point. Measure on my 40mm to there. Right, so get the mask on, cut this up. I'm hoping that this offcut piece is going to work for using on the front hatch, which would be really good because you maximum use it timber. There's a definite tendency when you're doing jobs like this, or any job for that matter, it just keeps going and going and going, trying to get it better and better and better. But it's a case of diminishing returns, and sometimes you just have to force yourself to stop before you think it's done and just step back and check it, because otherwise you just make a complete mess of it. So I've reached that point with this now, and I'm going to go out and try it and see how they look in place on the boat. Yeah, they're looking good. Two of them match up. Slide the length of companionway. No binding. Yeah, all looking good. Alright, so we're just gonna sand them just to fine tune them, as I said. This is how I'm sanding this, just with a piece of timber, strip of sandpaper, and just getting into the slot and just sanding it where it needs to be sanded. So I've been shaping these with the sandpaper to meet the rails, as you can see. Now when I spoke about using the rails to shape it and get the final fit, that's exactly what I meant. As you can see here, I have the strip of sandpaper laying on top of the rail, and what I'm doing is sliding it on the sandpaper. It's kind of hard to do with one hand, because, see, can I do it holding the camera this way? That's the technique I've been using, and as you can see, it gets it pretty close, because obviously you're shaping with what you're actually running it on. So yeah, they're looking good. The issue I'm seeing here is, you see here where there's clearance on that side, on that moulding. Right, but on this side there's not, even though the inside measurement there and there is exactly the same. So obviously that's an inconsistency in the actual moulding of the cabin top. So just going to have to trim this edge here back. Maybe I might, actually I might, yeah, I'll just take that corner out of there slightly because I don't want to interfere with this dimension here. Just run the pencil on that edge there, just keeping it flat on that, and then that's giving me a mark, the width of the pencil lead away from that, which will be plenty of clearance. So I've rounded that edge there on both of them, and rounded this edge here to give it a similar appearance. I've rounded off all the edges on them just to make it a little bit easier to work with on my hands, rather than having them just bare the way they were. Next thing is to mark the leading one for the curve in the cabin top that I was talking about. So I'm going to do that, try and do that now. It's just kind of awkward here with the cover over the boat, but I'm going to have to try and do something. See how I get on with that. So this here is the curve that I've been talking about in the cabin top. As you can see, I've had propped up on that side on the runner and propped up on that side on the runner, equal distance. You see the gap in the bottom corner there, and this side are the same. And then I have a block of timber here and a pencil on top of which I'm going to run on the cabin top across from left to right like this, to scribe onto the timber with the pencil a line that will give me this distance off of the cabin top, which is slightly less than the amount on the side, as you can see, which will give me a guide that I can remove that part of the timber, and I'll be pretty close to that, and I can just take maybe another couple of millimeters off, and that'll give me clearance. That's the plan. Okay, so that's it roughed out. It's looking pretty good. Before I go and start sanding it and trying to finish it, I'm going to bring it out to the boat and try it in place just to see how good the curve is and how well it works. There's no point in finishing and having to rejig it again, so that's what I'm going to do now. Okay, so that's it in place, which is looking pretty good. All I need now to do is just to just finish up the edge with the sander. I think we'll call that good. Started with the template on the top I made, and I've made the middle one, which is the forwardmost part of the companionway, and the bottom one, which is the rear part of it. So they've turned out pretty good. I'm very happy with them. If I can get the rest of it to work as well, it should turn out to be a good job. Okay, so that brings the end of another episode. If you've enjoyed watching this video, please remember to give me a thumbs up. If you haven't already done so, subscribe, share it with your friends, and I'll see you next time.